Greetings, folks. AnIolairGhorm here with a World of Warships division replay featuring Lynn Wilkie in the premium Tier 7 Japanese battleship, the Ashitaka, Schepker in the premium Tier 7 U.S. Navy light cruiser, the Atlanta, and myself in the Tier 7 Royal Navy light cruiser, the Fiji. We are in a domination match on Estuary, and each team brings one Tier 7 aircraft carrier, 2 battleships, 5 cruisers, and 4 destroyers to the match, and we are top tier in this battle. A few things to note regarding our respective ship upgrades and commander skills. Lynn's commander is Yamamoto, with a heavy focus on AA for both the ship and the commander. Schepker's commander is Halsey, with a fairly typical Atlanta build. He takes the auxiliary armaments upgrade to protect his AA, and he takes the expert marksman skill to leverage the buff skill on Halsey. And then my commander skills and ship upgrades for the Fiji are pretty run-of-the-mill for a Royal Navy light cruiser. Few highlights to note for this match. This is going to focus on division play and how we carry this battle, and in a few places there will be some quick transitions since some activity happens simultaneously or nearly simultaneously. So on to the gameplay. Neither destroyer that came with us to Alpha has moved out in front to either spot or to contest the cap. So I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here and push myself out here to see at least approximately where the opposing destroyer is based on where I'm detected. And I do pop hydro here in anticipation of torpedoes. So I ping on the map based on where I was detected, where I suspect the opposing destroyer is. But we're going to switch now to the view of the Atlanta because we see 3 sets of 3 torpedoes coming in. And so we know that it is at least the Akatsuki that is in Alpha. And in just a moment here, Schepker is going to get detected. And we're going to get a quick glimpse of the opposing Nicholas on his port side. Schepker is going to pop his radar to light up the destroyer. I'm going to switch to the Ashitaka because it is this salvo that is going to erase most of the health of the opposing Nicholas. 5 overpens for 6,300 damage, and that is not going to be the first of a few critical strikes that Lynn is going to get on ships during this match. The Nicholas does survive, get back into concealment, and we'll have to deal with him later. Now we switch back to my perspective in the Fiji because the opposing Akatsuki has been detected, and I'm now going to hunt him, and thanks to the hydroacoustic search being up, we get ample warning on his torpedoes and are now able to avoid them. We're going to switch back to the Ashitaka because Lynn gets a broadside view and shot on the opposing Pensacola. And with this salvo, again, he gets a critical strike, erasing more than 25,000, health off the Pensacola. And while that's happening, we switch back to my view in the Fiji because the opposing Akatsuki, in his panic to flee, has run himself aground. And I'm going to be able to get a few more salvos in here and finish off this opposing destroyer for my first kill. And so now we've cleared the destroyer out on this side and we're free to take the Alpha cap. Now we're going to switch to the perspective of the Atlanta and take stock of where we are overall. So we've done a good job clearing out the west flank and are free to take the Alpha cap. We can also see, however, that we can see that both teams have lost 2 destroyers. And we can also see that our team on the east flank is severely outnumbered. And so the opposing team is going to be able to push into Delta pretty well uncontested. We also see that there are a number of opposing destroyers that were in the center of the map. And so Lynn and Schepker agreed to move to the center of the map to help locate and hopefully take out some of those opposing ships. I'm moving south with our allied destroyers to the Charlie cap. And here we get a view of that very wounded Pensacola that Lynn hit earlier. And with this salvo, I get a Citadel hit. And with this next salvo, I'm going to finish off the Pensacola for my second kill of the game. The opposing team has now taken Delta, and we're going to switch back to the perspective of the Atlanta. And here, Schepker is, in just a moment, is going to get a quick glimpse of that very wounded Nicholas. And so Schepker is going to squeeze a shot in through this gap on the Nicholas, and he's going to be able to take down the Nicholas for his first kill of the match. Now we can see that our east flank is collapsing. We're losing our Omaha. In fact, we just lost the Alba. The Omaha, our allied Omaha, is now under sustained fire from the opposing Atlanta. Lynn here in the Ashitaka is going to try to get some long-range gunnery on the Atlanta, because now there's nothing between the Atlanta and our carrier, but it's going to be too late. We're going to lose the carrier here in just a moment. Lynn is going to put a couple salvos in on this Atlanta, but isn't going to get more than a couple of overpens, so not a very satisfying damage. And there goes our Ranger. So now we are without our carrier. We are down one ship at this point against the opposing team. And so Schepker and Lynn are going to move back towards Charlie so that we can converge there. We don't want to split up here because that will make it easier for the opposing team to focus us down. So we need to stick together, both to support each other with artillery fire and with AA. And speaking of AA, we're going to switch to the Atlanta's view, because this is where Schepker is going to shoot down the first batches of airplanes in this match. He is, however, exposed to both of the opposing battleships, and the opposing Mutsu is going to fire a salvo on him here if he hasn't sent it already. And Schepker continues to shoot down the opposing planes that are in the area. Here comes the salvo from the Mutsu. Schepker does a good job turning in, avoids the salvo entirely, able to shoot down the remainder of the planes that were in the area and fall into concealment. Now we're going to switch back to Lynn's view in the Ashitaka. He now has a good view of the opposing Mutsu. Lynn's going to demonstrate some good battleship tactics here by turning out to get all his guns in play, but then turning back in to mitigate damage from salvos that will be coming from the opposing Mutsu. You can also see the great fire hose that is the Atlanta sending shots over the mountain onto the Mutsu. I should note that despite Lynn providing very good angling, still took some serious pens from the Mutsu. Both the Mutsu and the Ashitaka carry 410 millimeter rifles. These are very potent rifles at this tier and are able to overmatch, most bows and sterns. In fact, maybe all bows and sterns at this tier. Lynn has sent another salvo, gets a little more damage on the Mutsu. He's going to continue to be angled because here's the next salvo. He ends up taking, again, another sizable chunk of damage. And now the Mutsu is gone behind the island, but the opposing Scharnhorst is now visible, and Lynn's going to send out another salvo onto him. Now, Scharnhorst guns are not quite so much of a risk for an opposing battleship, but they still can cause some damage. Fortunately, the Scharnhorst shot was quite off its mark, and so Lynn doesn't take too much damage. Now we're going to switch to my perspective in the Fiji. We get sight of the opposing Atlanta, who's been quite crucial in pushing the east flank, taking out our aircraft carrier and other ships that were on the east flank. So I'm going to put some fire on him. I do smoke up here in anticipation that he might start firing on me, but it looks like I may have been the one to spotting him. So we lose him here for a moment, but we do get visibility back. This next salvo is pretty good, and I take out about a third of his health. And this one salvo about 8,000 damage. So he's now quite wounded, but we didn't quite finish him off. Okay, so we're now going to switch to the perspective of the Atlanta, where Schepker continues to provide good AA support, but our allied Mahan here, who was working his way towards Delta, is visible and is coming under sustained fire from both the Scharnhorst and the opposing Königsberg, who's going to show up here in a moment. We're going to lose our Mahan here. There is the Königsberg. First salvo is HE, but Schepker is switching to AP since the cruiser is giving full broadside. We do lose the Mahan. Schepker's got to try to mitigate, angle himself well against the Scharnhorst, although the Scharnhorst did get a relatively good salvo in. And here over the next couple of salvos, Schepker is going to be able to finish off the Königsberg for his second kill of the match. We now turn our attention to the opposing Scharnhorst. Schepker is going to turn on the HE fire hose that is the Atlanta on this battleship. The battleship is making a very grave error here. He's putting himself into a crossfire between the three of us as well as our allied Fuso. You can see the shells going in on the Scharnhorst from Schepker. We're switched to Lin's view in the Ashitaka, where he's going to get a salvo in on the battleship as well. But it's not quite enough to finish him off. I'm going to switch to my perspective in the Fiji, where my next couple of salvos here are going to finish off the Scharnhorst. We do lose the Allied Fuso, 2 torpedoes combined from the carrier and the Scharnhorst. And now we switch back to Lin's view in the Ashitaka, where he has a broadside shot on the opposing Leander. Again, he gets a very good strike, but it's not quite enough to finish off the cruiser. We switch to my perspective in the Fiji. I send a salvo out. I am going to get one shell on him, but it isn't going to be quite enough to finish off the cruiser. So I switch my attention to the Algérie. So now our team is going to close in on Delta to help take that cap. And quite a few things are going to happen here over the next few minutes. So first thing is we're going to switch to the Atlanta's view, where Schepker is going to again shoot down a bunch of airplanes here. He's currently up to 27 shot down. Between my AA and Schepker's, we're providing some layered AA support for Lin in the battleship. The carrier is going to get a drop off, but we are able to mitigate a lot of the potential damage that could have been done. We'll now switch our attention to the carrier, which is the only ship that we currently can shoot at, as we push our way into Delta. And I think all three of... I know both Schepker and I are firing on the carrier. I believe Lin is as well. And with this next salvo, Schepker is going to earn the first heroic achievement for himself and our division. Going to get Confederate, and there go the fireworks, and we have also captured Delta. But as reward for his good work, he takes a salvo from the opposing Mutsu, but fortunately he is not taken out. We switch to Lin's view in the Ashitaka, where he's got now a broadside view on the Mutsu. Schepker is making his... well, first he's avoiding a torpedo from the carrier, but he's also trying to make his way over to smoke. And there is High Caliber, the second heroic achievement for our division and the first for Lin. With a single overpen on the Mutsu, he earns himself High Caliber. And so between myself, Schepker, and Lin, we're able to put some sustained fire on this Mutsu, and with this next salvo that Lin has just sent out, he finishes off the Mutsu, earning his second heroic achievement and the second Confederate for our division. We switch back to my perspective in the Fiji, because again we're losing the ring around the islands game that sometimes occurs in these matches. We'll put some fire on this Algérie, as is Schepker. Lin is also going to put a salvo out on the Algérie, which I won't show here, but that will remove a lot of the remaining health of the Algérie. Schepker has just sent a salvo out in the Algérie, which finishes off the Algérie for his third kill. And now Schepker has also earned High Caliber for the 4th heroic achievement for our division, and the 2nd high caliber for our division as well. And now that final salvo from me and the Fiji finishes off the Atlanta for my 4th kill. I switch back to the Ashitaka's view, where we can see the opposing carrier. He's at very extreme range at this point. We've lost the Charlie cap again to the opposing teams, but we have gained the lead because we've been able to whittle the opposing team down. Len's going to swing his guns over, his front guns over, send a salvo out on the carrier, but is it enough to actually hit the carrier, let alone sink him? And finally, Lin gets his justice, finishes off the carrier for his 2nd kill of the match. We switch to the perspective of Schepker, as he and I are now going to pincer the Leander and the Hatsuharu. We switched, he has popped radar to light up the ships. I am now putting some fire on the opposing Leander. There is my Confederate for the 3rd Confederate of our division and the 5th heroic achievement for our division. And there is my 5th kill for the Kraken Unleash and the 6th heroic achievement for our division in this match. We switch back to the view in the Atlanta. We have solely the Hatsuharu to finish off here. We are also very close to winning on points. Schepker is going to close in here. Was a little surprised he hasn't already been proximity detected. There's the detection. And oh, destroyer's on his starboard side. Purcell is out. 998 points. Torpedoes going out. Next salvo kind of whiffed. Next salvo goes out. But it's not enough to sink the destroyer, who survives to live another day. So, taking a look at the results, we can see that our division did exceptionally well, with Schepker earning a whopping 3,200 base XP, myself at 2,500, and Lin at over 2,000. Collectively, we did 339,000 in damage. We earned collectively 7.7 thousand base XP. And we had 1 Kraken Unleashed, 2 high caliber, and 3 Confederate for our division. We sank 10 ships. We shot down 45 planes. In fact, Schepker was only 1 plane short of earning the AA Defense Expert achievement as well. We collectively had 5 cap point, and we defended successfully 7 times. So a very successful match. I'll leave the results up for the rest of the ships for you to take a look at. I hope you did like the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below. And as always, we hope to see you out there and wish you happy sailing.